Issue 27, Married versus Single.
Why do so many people assume that all single people are lonely? This really gets my hackles up. I have been unmarried all my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I've seen a number of those so-called wonderful marriages, and all I have to say is, no thank you. Married people must account to one another for every living minute. Each has the right to know where the other is at all times, how much money he or she spends, and on what. Marriage demands that everything be shared. Once you are married, there is no such thing as mine. It's all ours. I enjoy coming home at night to a quiet, serene house where I can relax. I see and listen to people all day. I don't need to hear any more voices. If I want to talk, there is the telephone. If I want company, I have plenty of neighbors and friends. But it's my choice. I know married women who are lonely as hell, not to mention the ones who are stuck with alcoholics, gamblers, skirt chasers, and sex maniacs. Surely others must see this too. I am puzzled as to why so many single women think they are missing so much. Maybe it's because people have a tendency to long for what they don't have instead of counting their blessings.
Comprehension. 1. What kind of prejudice do most folks have about single people? 2. What does the writer name as being married people's obligations? 3. What kind of freedom does the writer think single people enjoy? 4. What is the writer puzzled about? 5. Why do single people think they are missing so much?
Let's talk. 1. Why do people marry? 2. Will you marry or remain single? 3. What do you think about people staying unmarried? 4. Talk about the good things and bad things about marriage. 5. Do you think unmarried people an odd, strange breed? Opinion samples. 1. I think marriage is hell for both man and woman. But almost always the wife has more responsibility for the children, the home, the dog, and her job, and she is the central emotional prop of the entire family. As if this weren't enough, she has to put up with in-laws, her husband's obnoxious buddies, and his character and personality flaws that he works overtime to conceal from others. On the other hand, the man also has to pay a high price. He is responsible for the family's bread and butter. He is always under his wife's scrutiny, which limits his freedom. I don't understand why people have to live with these burdens. Being single is the best way to enjoy our lives. Question: why do many people want to get married in spite of those burdens? Do you think people definitely realize what their responsibilities in marriage will be before they get married?
2. I'm married because that is probably the best thing for me, especially because of the stability of the relationship. I want and need the warmth and comfort of a relationship, the communicating, growing together, working on problems, enjoying things, nurturing, and receiving. A home around me. I have been married 28 years and I like it. I like the familiarity, the friendship, having someone special to love. It's fun and healthful, and it keeps things in perspective. It softens difficult times. It is nice to be wanted and needed. I like marriage. I need and depend upon a wife, good or bad. I love being married. Having a life partner is exciting, fulfilling, and comforting. My wife is my backbone in my business. She takes care of everyday problems that I don't want to handle. She is a very good mother to my children, even though she does not turn me on sexually anymore. Having people around that love you is a very secure feeling. I love my wife and children, and they love me. Home serves as a secure base of operations, a place where I can be me, where I can always come back to, and where I can share my successes and failures. Of course, it's a give-and-take process, and much of the responsibility on my part is listening to my wife also. Marriage is the best arrangement for maintaining security, sanity, child raising, and economic well-being. Question: what do you think this person would say if his wife were an independent professional rather than a traditional homemaker?
Issue 27. Married versus single.
Don't you ever regret being single?
There are times when I regret not having found someone to share my life with, but since I never did, I don't regret not being married.
No desire for children?
Once in a while, like lots of other things, we sometimes wish for what we don't have. But this has never been a great problem for me. If I ever really wanted to have children, I could have. You don't have to be married, you know. No sperm ever examined a marriage certificate before entering an egg.
And I guess single-parent adoptions are also possible.
That's still the exception to the rule, but I never pursued this option, so I guess I never really wanted to be a parent.
Do you miss being married at all?
One can't miss what one never had, can one?
Aren't you worried about no one to take care of you in your old age?
I've planned well for my future, thank you, but it is just as likely that it would have been me who had to take care of someone else in old age. After all, the men are usually older than their wives, and they don't live as long on average. So, statistically, the most likely result would be that when I got old, I'd have to take care of some sick old man, and then he would die, and I'd still be alone with no one to care for me. I'm better off this way.
So you recommend being single?
Not really. It depends on circumstance and individual preference. But I certainly think people should have more options available to them.
Options?
Staying single, being celibate, having one or more lovers but without ever marrying any of them, having as many wives or husbands as desired, same-sex marriages, contract marriages, permanent relationships without any formal legal definition, one-night stands, open marriages without sexual exclusivity, traditional monogamous marriages, not being worried over age or class differences in choosing one's partners.
But most of these arrangements don't work well.
None of them work well for everyone, not even traditional marriages. But people are different and they have different needs. Any way they can meet those needs should be okay, as long as everyone involved benefits. It's time for society to stop telling us how to live our own private lives.
You've given me too much to think about. I need to go home and talk this over with my wife.
I'm not making any recommendations. I just think people need to do what's right for themselves.
Questions. 1. Why doesn't she regret being single? Why doesn't she miss being married? 2. What is the connection between being married and having children? 3. What is her recommendation?